Captain Lirelei Moonwhisper stood on the bridge of her ship and watched the strange blue planet rotate slowly on the main screen. Her long pointed ears twitched with worry as she read the scanning reports. The data made no sense according to every measurement. This world called Earth was a death trap beyond imagination. The atmospheric readings showed dangerous levels of oxygen that would poison most galactic species within hours. The gravity was so strong it would crush the bones of her crew. The surface temperatures ranged from freezing cold to burning hot, with violent storms that could tear apart their strongest ships. Yet somehow life thrived on this nightmare world. Ambassador Sixtera floated beside her in a protective crystal shell. Her alien form shimmered with concern as she processed the biological data. The crystalline being had spent centuries helping dangerous species join galactic society, but she had never encountered anything like this. The creatures living on Earth were beyond terrifying. Giant predators with massive teeth roamed the land. Poisonous creatures lurked in every shadow. Sea monsters larger than starships hunted in the deep oceans. Even the plant life seemed designed to kill, with thorns and toxic chemicals everywhere. Yet the most shocking discovery came from the radio signals. The inhabitants of this death world called themselves humans, and their broadcasts showed something impossible. They were not just surviving on this hostile planet. They were building cities, creating art, and sending messages of peace into space. Laurel had lived for 347 years. She had seen many strange things in the galaxy, but nothing had prepared her for this. The elven captain believed herself progressive compared to her people. Most elves would have ordered the planet quarantined immediately and forbidden all contact. Dr. Maya Rodriguez sat in the small laboratory aboard her research station, orbiting Earth. She had been studying alien signals for months, ever since the strange ships appeared at the edge of their solar system. The young scientist knew this moment would change everything for humanity, had volunteered to be the first human to make contact with the alien visitors. Her colleagues thought she was crazy, but someone had to take the risk. The xenobiologist understood that first impressions would determine whether humanity joined the galactic community or remained forever isolated. She watched the elegant alien ship approach her station. The vessel looked like a work of art with flowing curves and beautiful lights. Maya had studied the limited communications they had exchanged. The aliens seemed terrified of humans, which confused her completely. Lisa Park monitored the situation from the military command center on Earth. The career officer trusted Maya, but she worried about alien intentions. Humans had dreamed of meeting other intelligent species for generations, but reality was proving more complicated than anyone expected. The alien ship docked with the research station, and Maya prepared to board. External cameras showed the aliens wearing full protective suits, as if they expected her to attack them at any moment. She found their caution amusing, since she was just one small human scientist captain. Lirelei waited in the airlock. As the human approached, she had ordered maximum security protocols, including energy shields and armed guards. The elf expected to meet a savage beast, barely contained in civilized clothing. Instead, she saw a young woman with kind eyes and a curious smile. Maya stepped through the airlock and looked around in wonder. The alien ship was beautiful beyond description. Crystalline walls glowed with soft light, and the air smelled like flowers from an alien garden. She noticed the heavily armed guards and the protective barriers, but chose to ignore them. The human scientist approached Captain Lirelei with an extended hand in the traditional human greeting of friendship. The elf hesitated for a moment, then carefully reached out to touch the offered hand. Both beings felt electricity pass between them, not from technology, but from the simple recognition of intelligence. Meeting intelligence. Ambassador Zixthera observed the interaction with fascination. The crystalline alien had expected violence, or at least aggressive posturing. Instead, the human showed remarkable calm and genuine curiosity. The initial contact protocols called for extensive psychological testing, but Maya seemed more interested in learning than conquering. Maya spent the next several hours answering questions about human biology and culture. The aliens seemed shocked by the most basic facts about Earth. She casually mentioned that humans regularly swam in the same oceans as giant predators and climbed mountains that would kill most species. When Captain Lireley asked about human weapons, Maya showed pictures of Earth wildlife instead. She explained how humans shared the planet with tigers that could kill with a single swipe, and sharks that were perfect killing machines. The aliens stared in horror at images that Maya considered beautiful nature. Photography, cultural exchange revealed even more surprises. Maya described how humans found challenge and adventure in activities that would terrify galactic citizens. Mountain climbing, deep-sea diving, and extreme sports were popular human pastimes. The concept of voluntarily seeking danger for entertainment was completely alien to their visitors. Zixtera conducted basic environmental tests, expecting the human to show signs of stress or aggression in unfamiliar conditions. Instead, Maya adapted quickly to changes in lighting, gravity, and atmospheric composition. She even commented that the alien ship environment felt gentle and peaceful compared to a typical Earth. Maya shared recordings of human music, art, and literature. The aliens listened to symphonies that moved them to tears and viewed paintings that captured emotions they had forgotten existed. Human poetry spoke of love, sacrifice, and hope in ways that touched something deep in alien hearts. Captain Lireley found herself drawn into long conversations with the human scientist. Maya described Earth cultures that valued wisdom over strength and cooperation over competition. She spoke of human philosophers who taught compassion and human leaders who sacrificed themselves for their people. The most shocking revelation came when Maya showed videos of human cities the aliens expected to see fortress compounds surrounded by deadly defenses. Instead, they saw parks where human children played safely among flowers and fountains. They saw markets where people from different cultures traded peacefully. Ambassador Zixtera realized that everything they thought they knew about Deathworld inhabitants was wrong. Humans were not savage beasts, barely controlled by civilization. They were gentle beings who had somehow managed to maintain their humanity while surviving on the most dangerous planet in the galaxy. As the first contact session ended, Maya made a simple request. She asked if humanity could join the galactic community and contribute to the greater good of all species. The innocent question sent shockwaves through both aliens, who suddenly understood they were not dealing with monsters, but with something far more dangerous to their established order. Captain Lireley returned to her ship with her worldview completely shattered. The elf, who had expected to contain a dangerous species, instead found herself wondering if the galactic community was ready for beings who combined impossible physical resilience with unshakable moral strength. Maya Rodriguez became the first human ambassador to alien species, but she had no idea that her simple act of friendship had already begun changing the galaxy forever. The real test would not be whether humans could become civilized, but whether the galaxy could handle the return of values it had long forgotten. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered to discuss the human question. Lady Sylviana Starweaver sat at the center of the ancient assembly, her 800 years of experience making her the most respected voice among the elven houses. Admiral Sophie Chen waited outside the Great Hall with her delegation of human women. The pragmatic fleet commander had been chosen to lead humanity through whatever trials the galaxy would impose. She understood that this moment would determine whether her species joined the stars or remained forever isolated. Kira Okonkwo adjusted her cultural analysis equipment one final time. The human anthropologist had studied every available record of galactic civilization, and what she found troubled her deeply. The galaxy had achieved peace and prosperity, but at a cost that humanity might not be willing to pay. Inside the chamber, Ambassador Zixtera presented her report to the assembled delegates. Her crystalline form flickered with uncertainty as she described her interactions with the human called Maya Rodriguez. The simple encounter had shaken foundations of galactic understanding. Lady Sylviana listened to the report with growing amazement. According to the ambassador, humans possessed physical capabilities that should have made them unstable and violent. Yet every interaction suggested beings of remarkable emotional control and genuine wisdom. Young Velinara took detailed notes from her position in the students section. The alien scientist had requested permission to study human psychology and behavior. Her research proposal had been approved mainly because no one else wanted to risk close contact with the death world inhabitants. The debate that followed revealed deep divisions within galactic society. Conservative factions argued that humans were too dangerous to integrate regardless of their apparent peaceful nature. Progressive voices suggested that humanity might bring valuable perspectives to galactic civilization. Captain Lireley addressed the assembly with her personal observations. She described Maya Rodriguez as the most adaptable being she had ever encountered. The human had shown no signs of the psychological instability that Death World inhabitants supposedly possessed. A elven captain spoke of human art and music that moved her in ways she could not explain. She mentioned human philosophy that addressed questions galactic thinkers had abandoned centuries ago. Most shocking of all, she revealed that humans actively chose to face danger not from aggression, but from curiosity and growth. Elder representatives from various species raised concerns about human unpredictability. Their survival instincts were too sharp, their adaptability too extreme, and their emotional responses too intense for safe integration into galactic society. Lady Sylviana called for order. As the debate grew heated, the ancient elf had seen species rise and fall across the galaxy. She recognized something in the human reports that reminded her of legends from her own people long forgotten past. After hours of discussion, the council reached a compromise decision. Humanity would be invited to join galactic civilization, but only after proving they could coexist peacefully with established species. A series of cultural integration trials would test human compatibility with galactic norms. The location chosen was Haven Station, a neutral world designed specifically for interspecies cooperation. The artificial environment could be adjusted to accommodate any known biology, and was monitored by the most advanced sensor networks in the galaxy. Admiral Sophie Chen received the formal invitation with mixed feelings. The conditions were clearly designed to test human self-control under pressure. Her species was being treated as potentially dangerous animals that needed to prove they could behave in civilized company. Kira Oak reviewed the trial parameters and recognized the deeper implications. The tests were not really about human behavior, but about human willingness to conform. Each challenge seemed designed to push humans toward abandoning their cultural values. Human delegation that assembled for the journey to Haven Station represented the best of their species. Maya Rodriguez would continue as chief ambassador, while Sophie Chen provided military expertise. Kira would analyze galactic culture, and a dozen other specialists would demonstrate human capabilities. Princess Aliana Dawnbringer watched the human preparations from her family observation deck. The young elven noble had been fascinated by the cultural reports about Earth. She secretly wondered if humans might possess something her own people had lost in their pursuit of perfect harmony. Velera joined the observation team assigned to monitor human behavior during the trials. The alien scientist had developed theories about Deathworld psychology that contradicted established galactic wisdom. She hoped studying humans would prove her ideas correct. The journey to Haven Station took several days, during which the human delegation interacted with their alien escorts. Maya Rodriguez spent hours in conversation with Princess Eliana, discussing everything from human poetry to Earth ecological systems. Captain Amy Foster impressed everyone with her piloting skills. When stellar debris forced an emergency course correction, the human starship pilot handled the crisis with reflexes and intuition that amazed alien observers who relied on computer assistance for such maneuvers. Tech specialist Priya Patel caused excitement when she suggested improvements to the ship life support systems. Her human engineering approach combined efficiency with safety margins that alien designers had not considered. The modifications increased system performance by 15%. Dr. Kira Okonkwo conducted her own observations of galactic society during the journey. She noticed subtle signs of cultural stagnation among their hosts. The aliens and elves seemed to have achieved stability by eliminating conflict, uncertainty, and emotional extremes. Haven Station appeared on their screens as a gleaming jewel suspended in space. The massive structure housed millions of beings from across the galaxy and served as the ultimate test of interspecies cooperation. Its artificial environments could simulate any known world as their ship docked. Admiral Sophie Chen gathered her team for final instructions. The trials ahead would determine not just human acceptance into galactic society, but potentially the future direction of civilization itself. Maya Rodriguez felt the weight of responsibility as she prepared to represent all humanity once again. The xenobiologist understood that they were not just proving human worthiness, but challenging galactic assumptions about strength, civilization, and progress. Princess Aliana secretly hoped the humans would succeed in ways that her own people had forgotten. The young elf sensed that these newcomers might hold keys to questions the galaxy had stopped asking centuries ago. The delegation disembarked onto Haven Station to find elaborate welcoming ceremonies and testing facilities prepared for their arrival. Hundreds of alien species watched with curious eyes as the humans took their first steps into the larger galactic community. Counselor Kathmara observed from the administrative levels with deep suspicion. The alien official had opposed human integration from the beginning. These Deathworld inhabitants threatened the careful balance that had brought peace to the galaxy. As the first day of trials began, it became clear that the real test would not be whether humans could adapt to galactic civilization, but whether galactic civilization was ready for the changes that humans would inevitably bring. Lady Sylviana watched the initial interactions with growing understanding. The humans were not just another species seeking membership. They were catalysts that would force the galaxy to examine what it had become and question whether evolution required abandoning the very qualities that made life meaningful. The first week of trials on Haven Station shattered every expectation. The galactic observers had held about Deathworld inhabitants. Captain Amy Foster stood in the advanced simulation chamber facing a combat scenario designed to trigger aggressive responses in dangerous species. The test placed her in command of a damaged starship with failing systems and attacking pirates. Amy studied the tactical display for 30 seconds, then executed a series of maneuvers that left the alien military advisors speechless. She disabled the enemy vessels without destroying them and rescued the simulated civilians. Princess Aliana Dawnbringer watched from the observation deck as Amy explained her strategy to confused alien tacticians. The human pilot had treated the attackers as beings who could be reasoned with, rather than enemies to be eliminated. Her solution saved lives on both sides. Tech specialist Priya Patel caused similar amazement in the engineering trials when she was given malfunctioning alien technology to repair. The human engineer ignored the approved procedures and instead applied what she called common sense engineering principles. Where alien technicians saw irreparable damage, Priya saw design flaws that could be fixed with simple modifications. She stripped away unnecessary complexity and rebuilt the systems using hybrid human-alien approaches that actually improved performance beyond original specifications. The cultural exchange programs revealed even more surprises about human nature. Dr. Kira Okonkwo organized sessions where humans taught meditation techniques they had learned from studying Earth's spiritual traditions. The alien participants experienced emotional peace many had not felt in centuries. Rodriguez led philosophy discussions that challenged fundamental galactic assumptions about progress and civilization. She spoke of human thinkers who believed wisdom came not from eliminating struggle, but from learning to face it with courage and compassion. Young Velanara attended every session, taking detailed notes on human psychological patterns. Her research was revealing that Deathworld inhabitants possessed emotional depth and resilience that galactic psychology had deemed impossible. Alien scientists observed humans comforting distressed alien children during a station emergency. The humans acted instinctively to protect and nurture beings they had never met before. Their response was immediate and required no orders or protocols. Princess Eliana began secretly studying human languages and customs during her off-duty hours. The young elf found herself drawn to human concepts of individual choice and personal growth. Her own culture valued harmony and tradition above all else. Captain Amy Foster became a celebrity among the younger alien residents when she offered to teach flying techniques that combined human intuition with alien technology. Her lessons attracted students from dozens of species who had never considered that piloting could be an art form. The breakthrough came during an emergency that no one had planned. Captain Lisa Park was coordinating station security when pirates attacked a nearby trading post. The real attack threatened hundreds of innocent lives, and the station authorities seemed paralyzed by protocols. Sophie Chen immediately offered human assistance, despite knowing that her delegation was still under evaluation. The galaxy had not asked for human help, and some officials worried that intervention would prove humans were too aggressive for membership. Maya Rodriguez volunteered to join the rescue mission, along with several other human delegates. They understood that failure could doom humanity's relationship with the galactic community, but they could not stand by while people suffered. The rescue mission revealed human tactical thinking that amazed alien military observers. Captain Amy Foster piloted the rescue ship through a debris field that should have been impossible to navigate. Her reflexes and spatial awareness exceeded computer calculations. Tech specialist Priya Patel jury-rigged communication systems to coordinate with trapped survivors using equipment that alien engineers insisted could not be modified. Her practical approach to problem-solving saved precious time during the crisis. Dr. Kira Okonkwo provided psychological support to traumatized alien refugees using techniques that helped beings process experiences their own cultures had no framework for understanding. Her work revealed how much emotional capability galactic society had lost. The mission succeeded beyond all expectations. The humans rescued every survivor and captured several pirates for rehabilitation rather than punishment. Their success came not from superior weapons or technology, but from creative thinking and unwillingness to abandon anyone. Princess Eliana watched the rescue coverage with growing excitement. The humans had demonstrated exactly the qualities her people had lost in their pursuit of perfect order. They showed that strength came not from avoiding danger, but from facing it to protect others. Elder Muralith arrived at Haven Station as news of the rescue spread throughout the galaxy. The ancient elf carried archives that few beings had ever seen, documents that recorded the true history of how galactic civilization had developed. In private meetings with Lady Sylviana, the elder revealed secrets that explained galactic fear of humans. Every species in the current alliance had once possessed the qualities humans displayed. They had been warriors, poets, and explorers who valued individual courage. The transformation to galactic citizenship had required abandoning those dangerous traits. Elves gave up their connection to nature and became focused on social harmony. Alien species traded their tribal bonds for technological advancement. Marlith showed recordings of ancient elven warriors who had fought to protect the innocent. Her people had once valued individual heroism and personal sacrifice. Now they considered such behavior primitive and destabilizing. The elder explained that humans represented everything the galaxy had sacrificed to achieve peace and prosperity. Their arrival forced uncomfortable questions about whether the price of civilization had been too high. Captain Amy Foster continued her flying lessons, unaware that she was teaching alien youth to rediscover instincts their species had abandoned. Her students began showing creativity and individual initiative that worried their eldest. Tech specialist Priya Patel established workshops where she taught practical engineering to alien students. Her approach emphasized understanding systems rather than following procedures. The results were impressive but challenged established educational methods. Maya Rodriguez found herself counseling alien individuals who had begun questioning their place in galactic society. Her discussions about human Concepts of personal growth and individual purpose spread like wildfire through Haven Station. Princess Aliana made a decision that would change her life forever. The young elf requested formal permission to study on Earth and learn human culture. Directly, her request shocked the elven nobility and created political controversy. Published preliminary research findings that suggested human psychological patterns might actually represent advanced evolutionary development rather than primitive instability. Her work was controversial, but gained support from younger scientists. The cultural impact of human presence began spreading beyond Haven Station. Reports of human philosophy and behavior reached every corner of the galaxy, sparking debates about the nature of true civilization. Admiral Sophie Chen realized that humanity had already passed the most important test. They had proven that advanced beings could maintain compassion, wisdom, and individual courage. The question now was whether the galaxy was ready for what humans represented as. The formal evaluation period neared its end. It became clear that the real trial was not about human behavior, but about galactic willingness to change. The humans had demonstrated that evolution did not require abandoning everything that made life meaningful. Lady Sylviana prepared her report to the Galactic Council, knowing that the decision about human membership would determine not just one species' fate, but the future direction of galactic civilization itself. The humans had succeeded beyond all expectations. Dr. Rachel Green arrived at Haven Station 3 days before the final evaluation, carrying classified files that would change everything. The human psychologist had been studying galactic society from Earth, and her findings revealed the true reason behind alien fear of humanity. Captain Nina Volkov accompanied Rachel as military advisor and strategic analyst. The career officer had served in diplomatic roles throughout her career, but never faced challenges as complex as navigating galactic politics while representing an entire species. Elder Moralith met them privately in the station archives, surrounded by historical records that few galactic citizens had ever seen. The ancient elf had decided that humans deserved to understand what they were really facing. Rachel studied the historical documents with growing shock. Every species in the galactic community had undergone the same transformation, abandoning their original cultures and values to join the technological alliance. The process was not accidental, but deliberate policy. The records showed how each species had been gradually convinced that their traditional beliefs were primitive obstacles to progress. Warrior cultures were taught that violence was always wrong. Spiritual societies learned that emotion was weak. Ismiralith explained that the galactic leadership had created stability. By eliminating unpredictability, every species contributed their technological advances, while conforming to standardized behavioral norms. The result was peace, but at the cost of diversity and growth. Captain Nina Volkov realized the implications immediately. Humanity was not being tested for compatibility, but for willingness to surrender everything that made them unique. The trials were designed to gradually pressure humans into abandoning their core values. Rachel discovered that several alien species had begun questioning the system after observing human behavior. The rescue mission had inspired beings across the galaxy to remember abilities and instincts they had been taught to suppress. Chandra, the alien merchant whose family had been saved during the rescue, contacted Rachel secretly. The crystalline being revealed that human actions had sparked underground movements among younger aliens who wanted to reclaim their ancestral ways. Princess Aliana had been conducting her own investigation into elven history, with shocking results. Her people had once been connected to nature in ways that modern elves considered primitive and dangerous. The princess shared recordings of ancient elven songs that spoke of individual courage and personal sacrifice. The most disturbing discovery came from analyzing galactic crime statistics. Rachel found evidence that psychological problems had increased dramatically as species abandoned their traditional cultures. Depression, anxiety, and social alienation were common, but rarely discussed. Nina Volkov studied military records and found that galactic forces had become increasingly dependent on technology and protocols. Individual initiative was discouraged, and creative, tactical thinking was considered dangerous deviation from approved strategies. The human psychologist presented her findings to Maya Rodriguez and Admiral Sophie Chen in a secure conference room. The evidence painted a picture of a galactic civilization that had achieved peace by sacrificing the very qualities that made life meaningful. Maya struggled to process the implications. Everything she had admired about galactic society was built on the systematic destruction of cultural diversity. The beautiful harmony she observed was the result of forcing every species into the same limited behavioral patterns. Sophie Chen understood the military aspects immediately. A society that suppressed individual initiative and creative thinking would eventually stagnate and become vulnerable to external threats. The galaxy had traded strength for temporary stability. Revelation came at a critical time as territorial disputes erupted between two minor alien factions. The Galactic Council had been unable to resolve the conflict using standard diplomatic protocols. The situation threatened to escalate into the First Interspecies War, and Sentry's Captain Nina Volkov studied the territorial dispute and realized that both sides were following rigid negotiation procedures that made compromise impossible. The galactic diplomatic system could only function when all parties accepted identical approaches to problem solving. Rachel Green recognized psychological patterns in the dispute that reminded her of human conflicts that had been resolved through creative mediation. The warring factions were trapped in cycles of behavior that their cultures would have historically broken through individual courage and flexibility. Maya Rodriguez made a decision that shocked the galactic observers. She requested permission to mediate the territorial dispute using human diplomatic techniques. The proposal was controversial because it meant allowing Deathworld inhabitants to influence galactic politics. Nina Volkov developed a mediation strategy based on human understanding of cultural psychology rather than galactic standardized procedures. Her approach focused on helping each faction understand their own underlying needs rather than defending predetermined positions. The mediation sessions began with both alien factions refusing to speak directly to each other according to established protocols. Nina ignored the rules and arranged face-to-face meetings in neutral cultural settings that encouraged personal connection. Rachel Green provided psychological support that helped alien diplomats recognize emotions and motivations they had been taught to suppress. The process was uncomfortable, but gradually allowed genuine communication between the hostile factions. The breakthrough came when Nina encouraged each side to share stories from their ancestral cultures before galactic integration. Both factions discovered that their peoples had once resolved similar disputes through personal bonds between leaders. Princess Aliana served as cultural liaison, helping translate concepts between human and alien worldviews. Her study of elven history proved invaluable in understanding how traditional approaches to conflict resolution had been abandoned. The mediation succeeded beyond all expectations. The territorial dispute was resolved through a creative compromise that gave both factions what they truly needed, while maintaining galactic stability. The solution could never have emerged from standard diplomatic procedures. News of the successful mediation spread throughout the galaxy, raising questions about whether human approaches might be valuable in other areas. Young aliens and elves began studying human techniques for personal development and creative problem-solving. Velenora published research showing that human psychological patterns were not primitive, but actually represented advanced emotional evolution. Her work suggested that the galaxy had been moving backward rather than forward in terms of social developments. Several alien species began sending representatives to study human culture directly. Their requests embarrassed galactic leadership, who had spent decades portraying humans as dangerous primitives who needed to be tighter. Moralith revealed that ancient prophecies among her people had spoken of star wanderers who would remind the galaxy of forgotten truths. The descriptions matched human characteristics so precisely that many elves began reconsidering their attitudes. Captain Amy Foster established the first interspecies flight academy using training methods that combined human intuition with alien technology. Her graduates showed capabilities that exceeded traditional pilot training by significant margins. Specialist Priya Patel created engineering workshops that taught problem-solving approaches her human colleagues took for granted. The results revolutionized maintenance procedures throughout Haven Station and attracted students from across the galaxy. The success of human methods in solving galactic problems created political pressure for immediate full membership, but also strengthened opposition from conservative factions, who viewed human influence as a threat to established order. Admiral Sophie Chen prepared her final report to Earth leadership, knowing that humanity faced a choice between joining galactic society on existing terms or challenging the fundamental assumptions that governed interspecies relations. Rachel Green compiled psychological profiles showing how human integration was already changing galactic society in positive ways. The evidence suggested that humans represented not a threat to civilization, but the key to its continued evolution and growth. President Elena Martinez stood before the emergency session of the United Earth Council as reports from Haven Station painted a picture that no one had anticipated. The choice facing humanity was far more complex than simple acceptance or rejection of galactic membership. Grand Matriarch Celestine arrived at Haven Station representing the supreme authority of galactic civilization. The ancient being had witnessed the rise and integration of dozens of species, but never encountered a situation like the human question. The mysterious collective voice manifested in the station's central chamber for the first time in living memory. The ancient alien consciousness that had guided galactic policy for millennia had remained hidden until human actions forced it to take direct interest. Commander Beth Thompson prepared her security team as tensions rose throughout Haven Station. Conservative factions demanded immediate human conformity, while progressive groups called for fundamental changes. 2. Galactic Integration Policies. President Elena Martinez received the formal offer of galactic membership, along with detailed requirements for human cultural modification. The terms were presented as generous, but Elena recognized them as demands for humanity to abandon everything that made them unique. The integration requirements included mandatory psychological conditioning to reduce human emotional responses, standardized education to eliminate cultural diversity, and technological dependence to prevent independent innovation. Elena studied the reports from her ambassadors and realized that accepting these terms would effectively end human civilization as it had developed. Her people would become another standardized species in a galaxy that had forgotten the value of diversity. Admiral Sophie Chen sent her final military assessment warning that galactic civilization was fundamentally unstable. The systematic suppression of individual initiative and cultural identity had created a society dependent on rigid control to maintain peace. Dr. Rachel Green analysis showed that dozens of alien species were experiencing psychological renaissance as they rediscovered abandoned aspects of their cultures. Human influence was spreading like wildfire through younger generations across the galaxy. Maya Rodriguez reported that Princess Aliana had formally requested permission to study on Earth. Despite fierce opposition from Elven leadership, her courage was inspiring other young aliens to challenge the restrictions placed on cultural exploration. Captain Nina Volkov territorial mediation had become a model for conflict resolution throughout the galaxy. Her success proved that human approaches to problem-solving could work, even with alien psychology and cultural frameworks. The collective voice addressed the assembled representatives with words that shook the foundations of galactic understanding. It revealed that the current system had been designed as temporary measure to prevent self-destruction during a galactic crisis centuries ago. The ancient consciousness explained that the standardization of species behavior had been necessary to stop wars that threatened to destroy all civilization, but the crisis had passed and the temporary measures had become permanent. limitations. Grand Matriarch Celestine listened with growing amazement, as the collective voice admitted that galactic society had stagnated under the rigid control systems. The suppression of diversity and individual initiative had prevented the growth necessary for long-term survival. President Alina Martinez made her decision in consultation with the United Earth Council. She would propose a third option: that no one expected humanity would join galactic society, but on their own terms as catalysts for positive change. Alina's address to the Galactic Council began with gratitude for the invitation to join, but continued with observations about what humanity had learned during the integration trials. She spoke honestly about the costs of conformity and the value of diversity. The human president proposed that, instead of abandoning their culture, humanity would establish programs to help other species reconnect with their own abandoned traditions. Earth would become a center for cultural rehabilitation and rediscovery. Commander Beth Thompson was appointed to the newly created position of Galactic Security Advisor, with authority to implement human protocols that prioritized life preservation over procedural compliance. Her methods revolutionized crisis response. First interspecies cultural rehabilitation program began with Princess Eliana leading elven youth in rediscovering their connection to nature. Ancient forest worlds that had been abandoned for centuries became destinations for spiritual renewal. Captain Amy Foster Advanced Pilot Training Academy became a model for education throughout the galaxy. Her combination of human intuition with alien technology produced graduates who excelled in ways that amazed their instructors. Tech specialist Priya Patel engineering workshops spread to dozens of worlds as alien species discovered that practical problem solving could coexist with advanced technology. Her hybrid approaches increased efficiency while maintaining safety. Several alien factions began reviving traditional cultural practices that had been banned for centuries. The Crystalline Consortium rediscovered their ancestral song ceremonies, while the Mechanical Collective explored individual creativity within their hive minds. Maya Rodriguez became director of the first interspecies psychological support network, helping beings process the emotional challenges of cultural rediscovery. Her work revealed how much strength galactic society had lost by suppressing natural diversity. The changes were not without opposition. Conservative elements throughout the galaxy resisted the return of individual initiative and cultural diversity. They argued that stability was more important than growth, and that humans were destabilizing. Galactic Order Counselor Kethmera led the opposition faction, claiming that human influence would lead to chaos and conflict. The alien official organized resistance to cultural rehabilitation programs and demanded restrictions on human activities. Young aliens and elves ignored the opposition and flocked to human-sponsored programs that taught everything from creative problem-solving to emotional expression. The response was so overwhelming that waiting lists extended for years. Elder Moralith published the complete historical archives, revealing how much galactic civilization had lost in its pursuit of artificial harmony. Her revelations sparked planet-wide movements demanding cultural renaissance and individual freedom. Velena research became the foundation for new psychological theories that recognized emotional diversity as evolutionary advantage rather than primitive weakness. Her work influenced educational systems throughout the galaxy. The final breakthrough came when the collective voice announced its decision to step back from direct control of galactic society. The ancient consciousness declared that species were ready to govern themselves using the wisdom they had rediscovered. Grand Matriarch Celestine formally welcomed humanity as equal partners in galactic civilization, with the understanding that human role would be to help maintain the balance between progress and cultural identity. President Alina Martinez established the Earth Cultural Exchange Institute, with branch offices on hundreds of worlds. The organization helped species navigate the challenges of rediscovering their heritage while maintaining technological advancement. Commander Beth Thompson implementation of human security protocols reduced conflict throughout the galaxy by focusing on understanding root causes rather than suppressing symptoms. Her methods became standard practice for galactic peacekeeping, Forces Princess Eliana became the first non-human graduate of the Earth Cultural Institute before returning to lead the Elven Renaissance. Her success inspired similar movements among dozens of other species. The galaxy discovered that true civilization required not the suppression of diversity, but the celebration of what made each species unique. Humans had not brought chaos, but had restored the balance that made growth and peace possible together. Maya Rodriguez stood in the same laboratory where she had first detected alien signals and marveled at how much had changed. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy through strength, but had healed it through the simple act of remaining true to themselves. The real monsters had never been the predators of Earth, but the fear that had convinced the galaxy to abandon everything that gave life meaning. Humans had faced that fear and shown that strength came not from conformity, but from embracing what made each being special.